All right, I have a special Thursday edition of Ask Me Anything. So literally, whatever you want to ask about, ask it here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that box down there in the corner for IGTV to watch this episode. JimmyRants.com is the website. As always, you can engage live in the content. You got to go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. Follow me at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, you can engage live in the content, just like all these wonderful people coming in right now. Thank you guys for being here today on Jimmy Rants. We also are simulcasting over here on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here. Finally, we are on the live stream of my YouTube channel as well. So thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live here on Instagram, you can watch it on replay for up to I guess you can watch it on replay on demand now because they have it on IGTV. I was going to say up to 24 hours because that was the old way. The brain still has that in the head. So. But go watch it on IGTV. They do put all the past episodes up over there. We also throw them up over on YouTube. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Finally, we put them over on JimmyRants.com. All the past episodes there. And normally we do this show Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Occasionally I'll do a 5 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and then sometimes on the weekend. Well, guys, I decided I wanted to take a few days off because one of the things that I learned in the midst of my sabbatical was that I need to build into my regular schedule periods of time when I'm not working so hard. And it was one of the reasons I had to take this sabbatical was because I was working. And so, yeah, I needed to back off on doing that so hard. And so since I've been back since March 1st, I haven't been really backing off on the work much at all. A little bit during the daytime. I'll do a little bit kind of backing off then, but not really taking to heart, making sure I'm making time for me. And so I'm going to do that this weekend. I'm going to take pretty much all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday off, and I'm going to try to chill out this weekend. So what that means is we're doing Ask Me Anything here on this Thursday edition. This is a special edition of Ask Me Anything. So I'm going to read a few little stories, just little items of interest that I found. I always do this at the beginning of Ask Me Anything. And then we'll come to you for your questions. So if you have questions that you want to ask me, literally about anything you want. So keto, cholesterol, fasting, which by the way, we're going to do a 7-day fasting corporate fast here on Jimmy Rants starting on Monday, June the 1st. So that's coming up in a few days when I get back from this 3 days off. That'll be the first kind of thing that we start talking about is fasting. So get your fasting muscle ready because we are going to go fasting, and we will do that corporately together on Monday. We're setting a goal of 7 days, but if you don't make it 7 days, it's all good. Most of the time people start and you have people drop out along the way, and it's okay. It's definitely not a race to see who can fast the longest. It's just giving you the benefits of the fast. So stay tuned for that Monday. But ask me literally anything you want. There's a lot of people that have questions about me. So make sure that if you have any personal questions you want to ask, that's fine. I am always happy to share from this head that the good Lord gave me. So, all right. So get your questions. Write them down there, you guys. Write them down there. And we will definitely get to your questions here in just a moment. For some reason, I'm not seeing many people on Instagram. I see quite a few here on Facebook, the normal size, the normal number of people on YouTube, but usually I have a certain amount of people here on Instagram and it shows 2 people. So if you're here, write to me. I can only see that there's 2 people on. So if you're there, please feel free to write a question, but that's odd. Like that's a very oddly low number of people. So I don't know what's going on. Instagram has been doing some funky stuff lately. So Marley says I'm here. Okay, Marley, I see you there. It's just odd. Usually I'm in pretty much higher numbers than what I'm seeing on the screen. So, okay, well, come on in. I'm going to read some of the articles and then we'll get to your questions. Please, please, please write me some questions. So otherwise this will be a very boring Ask Me Anything. All right, so the first headline I want to read you is from salon.com. The fear of emasculation is making men less likely to wear a protective mask. Men are more likely to die of COVID-19, yet in greater numbers than women, they refuse to man up and mask up. And so they did this preprint study that men less than women intend to wear a face covering. It's not true. They don't. And that they added this is not true in countries where authorities require citizens to wear it, suggesting that compulsory coverage has a greater impact on the men than the women. So pretty amazing in light of what we know about the people that are dying from COVID-19. It's typically men. The preprint study is not the first study that shows and survey that shows that men are less likely to wear a mask. They did a Gallup poll last week that found 44% of women always wear a mask or a cloth covering in public. Only 29% of men do. Likewise, 25% of women never wear one outside of the home, compared to 38% of men. So, what do you think about that? Like, are men? Do you appear weak if you wear a mask? Is that the reason why men are maybe reticent to wearing a mask? In full disclosure, I don't wear a mask out very many places because, number one, I don't go out that much. So when I go out, I go in the parts of the day where there's not many people out, usually early in the morning, get my stuff, get out, and there's hardly anybody in the store. And so maybe that's one reason that I don't wear one. I suppose if I was in a crowded store that I would wear one, I guess just so other people don't freak out. I saw video in New York from New York City this week where a bunch of customers shamed this person for not wearing a mask. Now there it is compulsory and they're supposed to wear them. I think they got in the store with the mask on, but then once they were in the store, they took it off and people were screaming at this person to get out of the store. Whatever you believe about masks, if they require it, you probably should wear it. And if they don't, then you can make the choice at that point. But I thought that was the fear of emasculation is preventing men from wearing protective masks. Did you hear about this wedding photographer story? This was pretty big in the news this week. The wedding photographer is facing criticism because he mocked a client who asked for a refund. Why did the client ask for a refund? His fiance died. And so this guy was trying to get married to his sweetheart, and she tragically died in a car accident. So he goes back to all the different places, the flower place, the tuxedo rental, and said, yeah, she died in a car accident. Can I get a refund? What heartless business would not refund their money? Well, apparently, there is a business in Dallas, Texas, that is a wedding videographer company called Copper Stallion Media, and he reached out to them and said, hey, I gave you an $1,800 down payment on doing our wedding video and photos, and can I get a refund? And so they pretty much did not answer the guy. Now he's already heartbroken because he's lost his fiance, but they pretty much ignore him. And at one point, he was trying his best to work it out with them. And at one point, he decided to reach out to the media to see if they could help. And so when he reached out to his local television station, they did a story. Well, after the story ran about how this company refused to give the refund, they started getting 1-star reviews on their Yelp page. And on The Knot, I think that's like a wedding type of page. In just a matter of hours, they had 75 1-star reviews out there. and people were calling them, leaving voicemails, bashing them. What are you doing? The guy lost his fiance, blah, blah, blah. And this company, you would think, would fold under the pressure. They doubled down on not giving the refund, and they wrote, "We will never refund him, even with the online threats and harassment. If we knew that he was going to try to shake us down, we would have charged a much higher deposit than we did." And here's the thing too, this company and the people that run it, the videographer, they actually had a Facebook account that they had to take down because they were getting such a negative feedback about this. And of course, I get it from a business perspective. Non-refundable is there for a reason because there's certain expenses involved, but come on. From a PR standpoint, you look like a prick if you don't give the guy his money back after his fiance dies in a car accident. So I just thought that was kind of weird. And I don't know if COVID-19 just caused him to be a little more stressed than normal, maybe because of some of the cancellations of other weddings, because of this coronavirus thing. Maybe that's why they're feeling the pressure that he needed the money. I don't know. But from a PR standpoint, this guy will never do another wedding again. There's nobody that's going to hire him if he's going to treat people that way, and especially someone that tragically lost their fiance in a car accident. All right, let's see what else we have. Oh, did you hear about what they're doing on Long Island? So Long Island is dealing town-wide with the Quarantine 15, as they're calling it. And so one part of Long Island is taking steps to remedy the situation of people gaining weight. So they're doing a town-wide diet where they unveil the details of the program to get people healthier. They're trying to help people create a new lifestyle change to give them healthier habits. So the town of Huntington, with over 200,000 residents, is going to be the first Long Island municipality to do a corporate diet as a city. The program, of course, is totally volunteer. They're doing Facebook Lives to learn about nutrition and exercise. It's not a keto program, but it gets people to at least pay attention to their weight and managing their stress and things like that. They're trying to remind people to stop eating fast food, stop eating so many carbs, that's in the story, in favor of more fruits and vegetables. And they're also, the local gym is already giving away workout equipment to its members so that they can be healthy with virtual classes at home. So I think that's pretty cool. That they're now doing a corporate citywide health effort to try to help people dealing now with the aftermath of some of the stress eating that maybe they did during COVID-19. So I thought that was really good. All right, I think that's enough of the stories. I got a ton more I could always talk about, but I definitely want to see your guys' questions. So if you're joining us late, welcome. This is not Friday. I know usually we do the Ask Me Anything on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, but I'm taking the weekend off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just going to chill this weekend. I haven't done that since I've returned from my sabbatical March 1st, so this is the weekend. Heading into the new month, I'm going to go ahead and take 3 days pretty much off from doing Jimmy Rants and most of my work. So ask your questions, you guys. Literally write them down there, and when the time comes, I will come to you and we will answer your questions one by one. All right, let's start over here with my Instagrammers, then we'll go to Facebook, then we'll go to YouTube. I got a few more articles. If you guys don't ask questions, I won't have anything to talk about. So welcome in, welcome in. JimmyRants.com is the website, and we have the first question here from Utiba. Do you think it is more important to track ketones or blood sugar, or should you track them both equally? What a great question. So blood ketones and blood sugar are two different things. And so I think it just depends on what are you trying to see. Are you trying to see if your diet is managing your blood glucose levels effectively? Now, obviously, if you have higher ketone levels, then you're probably going to have lower blood sugar levels. And so if your goal is to manage sugar, then watch your sugars. You can wear a continuous glucose monitor, which, by the way, when we do this corporate fast starting on Monday, I am going to be wearing a continuous glucose monitor in my arm. and I'll be able to see on a whim what my blood sugar is pretty much at all times during the fast. And so testing your blood sugar will see how you're controlling your glycemic load in your body. So if you're not eating a lot of carbohydrates, obviously your blood sugar should come down. You also need to manage stress. A lot of people, they say, well, I'm not eating any carbs, but my blood sugar remains elevated. Well, don't forget, it's not just carbs that impact your blood sugar. You can also see the stress effects. I told this story one time before. When I was wearing a continuous glucose monitor, I was managing my blood sugar pretty well. And then I got a distressing phone call. And in the midst of the distressing phone call, I could feel that I was stressed. Well, when it was over, I thought, okay, let's see what my blood sugar did. My blood sugar went up 35 points in 20 minutes of talking on the phone. I did not eat anything. And so it's fascinating information to track your blood sugar. And I think you see more of a change in real time of what's going on in your body testing blood sugar. Now, blood ketones or breath ketones, I told you about that BioSense meter, and that's what I'll be using during the fasting time next week, by the way. I'll be using a CGM for the blood sugar and the BioSense for the ketones. It's a breath ketone device that's equivalent to blood ketones. And we'll see what's going on. But you won't see the changes in your blood ketones or your breath ketones nearly as quickly as you do your blood sugar. So if I had to choose which one to track more, I would test blood sugar. Thank you for that question. Marley says, do you think this pandemic will convince a significant amount of people to get healthy? That is the goal. I think if people are paying attention and they see the people that are suffering the most from COVID-19 are the people who are basically obese, the people who are metabolically unhealthy, people that have what's called comorbidities, other health issues already in existence. And if they're paying attention and they're realizing that that's all the people who are getting the most sick and dying from this, I hope it wakes them up. But honestly, there's a jaded part of me that says, yeah, people don't care. This will quickly be forgotten, and it's kind of hard to think that people would, quickly forget COVID-19. We're trying to all forget 2020 because it's been a forgettable year. We don't want to remember this year. But I think I'm hopeful as someone that's an influencer in the health space that what you're saying here is indeed what will happen. I want people to wake up. I do think it's incumbent upon all of us that are woke to go ahead and be at the ready. So if you're not already active online, if you're not already kind of helping people, you're not doing any kind of posting on social media, doing videos like this one here, blogging, whatever your gifts are, you should be using your voice proverbially, either in the written form or in the spoken form, of sharing about all of this information that can help people. Because I think we might see a resurgence in the interest in diet and health. And obviously that's what I've been about for over 15 years now, and I don't intend to back away from the message. You can't lead people, to hear the message. You just have to say, okay, you see this situation we just dealt with, this is another reason why you need to get your house in order. So hopefully, Marley, but there's a little jaded part of me that just says, yeah, I don't think they're going to care at the end of the day. David says, regarding masks, I don't know how effective non-N95 masks are, but intuitively, some people spit when they talk like that. Ooh, that made a cloud of spit. Lots of droplets in the air. So if it saves me from being spat on, that has to be a good thing, especially in New York City. Yeah, I go back and forth on the mask thing. I think they do prevent you from spewing your spit on other people, but the spittle from other people can penetrate your mask. It's smaller than the holes in your mask, so it's just, unless you're wearing one of those really fancy schmancy masks that the frontline workers use. So, especially these people using the cloth mask, and then they're like not even fully covering their nose and their mouth. And have you seen Joe Biden? His comes up like to his eyeballs. He looks kind of like the Lone Ranger. Opposite Lone Ranger, because all the mask covers all this down to here, and there's like nothing up here. Anyway, so yeah, I kind of vacillate back and forth on the mask thing. But if it makes you feel better wearing one, or you feel like you're doing something virtuous wearing one, then by all means, wear one. Nothing wrong with that. Marley wants to know, how many cats do you have and what are they like? So, come here, skunk. Come here, baby. Just as you asked that question, she started walking up. Come here, skunky. No? You gonna come on camera? Somebody's asking about you. Come here. Oh, now she's running away. She's like, you're up to something, Daddy. So, yes, Skunk is my youngest one. She's now 15 years old. And we actually found her out in the street, out in front of our house. And she was about 1.5 pounds when we found her. And she was beat up. You could tell she was wore out, and you could tell she was very hungry. So I remember the first day, and this was probably 10 years ago, the first day that I saw her out there, I got a can of wet stuff and put it out in the middle of the street, and she just gobbled it all up. I'm like, okay, she's a stray and she's starving. So I brought her into the house, and we basically nursed her back to health. In the midst of that, we found that some people had shot BB bullets into the side of her, and so they were embedded in her skin. We had to go to the vet to get those taken out. But now here it is 10 years later, and she is a fat, happy cat. It's funny because she ostensibly was an indoor cat her whole life. And now she's been indoors for the past 10 years, and I think she likes being indoors now. So that's Skunk. Then the other one is Peaches, and she's 16 years old. We got her right after we lost a cat. A gray cat named Smokey died at 7 years old because we were gone on vacation. We got back, and she had bumped her head or something on one of the end tables, and she died. And so when we got home, she was stiff as a board. So to ease that pain of losing a cat, we got Peaches. So she's over there in the corner right now. And she's the one that when we brought her home, she had a breathing issue where she makes like, you could hear it audibly when she breathes. So I've always called her Darth Kitty, like Darth Vader. But she's got like a lot of orange fur. And literally when I come in Jimmy Rant studio in the mornings, I have to sweep up the floor, and I've got like a little baby Peaches that I have to throw away because she's a shedder and a half. But she's just, they're very docile cats, very loving cats. And so, yeah, and then I had 2 older cats that both died last year. Muffin was 18, and Ginger was 17, about to turn 18. So we've had some long-living cats, and yeah, I'm a cat guy. I don't do dogs because I got bit as a kid by a Doberman Pinscher, like right in my face. So I am terrified of dogs. So if you've got a big dog, I don't do dogs. I don't like dogs. Big dogs. Now I could do a little yappy dog probably, but big dog, not so much. But give me a cat all day, every day. Marley says, do you have a list of blood work or labs that people should get just for overall health to get a big picture view? I did a whole not a Jimmy Rants. I'm not sure. Did I do a Jimmy Rants on that? I don't think I've done a Jimmy Rants. I know I did a keto talk last year with Dr. Cole. So if you go to llvlc.com and click on the little podcast, and there's a drop-down menu, click on Real Talk. That's what the show's called now. And if you'll type in functional labs, Dr. Cole and I did an entire podcast where we went through all of these like generalized labs that you should run, what the functional range of all of those things are. It would be voluminous for me to do it here quickly on this Jimmy Rants, but llvlc.com, type in functional labs in the little search box on the Real Talk podcast website. So go check that out. Lots of really good blood work, definitely fasting insulin, definitely HSCRP, definitely some of the full thyroid panel. There's just so many things that you could run that will definitely give you good information about your health. Do you have an affordable source for continuous blood glucose monitors? Well, I know there's few out there now that are coming out that are a little more affordable, but they're all pretty pricey. The main thing is you've got this sensor that you put on your arm, and it's got the needle in it. That, at least the one that I use, is called Freestyle Libre. You've got to get a prescription from your doctor, and then you pop it on, and it stays in for 14 days. That sensor, I want to say, is like $75. And then there's like a little meter that helps you read it. Or now they have your phone can be your meter, and you can read that way. Pretty fixed price. Like I said, there's a few companies working on a CGM. I've been contacted by one. They're supposed to send me one of theirs that I think is going to be a little more affordable and a little more accessible. Obviously, when I get that information, I will share it with you guys here on Jimmy Rants. Do your cats ever get after your chickens? No, they don't mess with the chickens. I think the chickens would beat up my cats. All right, Instagram, thank you for all those great questions. Please keep them coming because we still have another half hour here on Jimmy Rants on this Ask Me Anything. So ask me anything. That's literally what the show is. So keep asking your questions. I'm going to pop over here now to my Facebook page. Welcome, you guys. Thanks for being here today on Jimmy Rants. We've got to ask me anything. So please ask me literally whatever you want to ask. That's what this show is about. Maria says, why is it so hard to break a stall? Well, I guess it depends on what you mean by stall. Sometimes people, they say they're in a stall and you say, okay, how long have you been at the same weight? Oh, 3 days. Oh, okay, you're not in a stall. You're not even close to a stall. I would define a stall as being continuously the same weight for more than 4 weeks. And if you've been in the continuous same weight in more than 4 weeks, but you change nothing about what you do, then you start looking at, okay, if my diet's right, and that's the diet I've been doing to help me lose weight, what else is going on in my life? Am I a little more stressed right now? Maybe my sleep is a little bit off. Did I change some kind of a medication that I take? Am I doing anything different in the lifestyle aspect of what I'm doing? And if you can answer yes to that, then I would go right to that because that's the low-hanging fruit. Now, keep in mind too that if you've lost a significant amount of weight, and this happened to me in 2004, I lost 100 pounds pretty pronto. Within 100 days, I lost 100 pounds when I was on the Atkins diet. And then 10 weeks in a row, I did not lose a single pound on the scale. And of course, people would say, oh, you stalled out. No, what happened was my body was adjusting. I lost a lot of weight very quickly. And so therefore, the body was trying to say, okay, we see what you're doing. Let's do a little bit of rebuilding in an adjustment period. And in that 10 weeks where I didn't lose weight, where I was stalled out, guess what happened to my waist? I lost 6 more inches. So I don't like this idea of thinking of it in terms of being in a stall. You might not be in a stall at all. You might just be in an adjustment period. So I would say stop weighing yourself if you think that's the definition of being stalled. And then don't beat yourself up and don't do anything too fast, too quickly of changing. Because maybe what you're doing is working brilliantly, but you're trying to speed up the process of what your body's trying to do naturally. So I hope that helps you out. Jean says, I love you. Well, I love you too. Thanks for being here. I'm all in for the 7-day fast, she says. Good. Norma says, are you going to be in Dr. Ken Berry's summit? I didn't know Dr. Berry was doing a summit. So I guess the answer to that is no. I do know Ken. I've actually got him in my phone. I could call him right now. Wouldn't that be a hoot to go on Jimmy Rants and call Ken Berry? Yeah, Ken, I'm live on Jimmy Rants. I just wanted to say hi and name drop. Just kidding. But no, I was not invited to speak on that. I was invited to speak at one in the UK. There's going to be an online summit. I'm trying to remember the guy that's doing that one. But I was invited to speak on that one. I think I was also invited to speak at one in Australia. But as far as here in America, I have not been invited to any of the kind of online summits. But thank you for asking. Gene wants to know, what do you think about counting macros? I've gained so much weight during the lockdown that I'm wondering if I need to count them. I lost plenty before without counting. So I have been very much in the camp of, if it fits your macros, counting macros, macronutrient ratios, being a whole bunch of bunk. Now, I know people live and die by that. They love counting their macros. To me, counting macros is keeping you in diet mode. Now, if you want to do it for a period of time, a couple weeks, just to kind of get going again, I don't see anything wrong with that. But I think these people that say, well, I'm at 71.3% of my fat and I need to get 3.75% of my fat back in this last meal of the day, you're in friggin' diet mode. So in general, I'm not a fan. I think the basics are eat real food, keep carbs limited, eat protein and fat to satiety, and your body will manage those things naturally. Don't try to force it. Again, if you need that structure, great, but don't feel like you have to count macros to be successful on keto. Starting tomorrow in Virginia, masks will be mandatory for all indoor businesses and a list of other places, says Nancy. It will be interesting to see how it goes. The goal is to get businesses open and move to phase 2. On the upside, all of our beaches will be open. Yeah, I used to live in Virginia Beach, and I know it's also a big tourism moneymaker for the coastal, and here in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach is a big moneymaker for South Carolina, Charleston, all the Hilton Head Island, all of that. So yeah, we got to get the economy back going again. So if it means you have to wear a mask mandatorily, I guess that's what they feel like they have to do. Norma says, will you test your Biosense breath meter against your ketone meter, blood ketone, I assume you mean, to see if there's a difference between the two? So the Biosense is what it's called, and it's been already put through vigorous testing. I certainly could do that if I wanted to. I don't know if I feel the need to prick my finger 1,000,000 times to test blood ketones if it starts to be pretty accurate with the breath ketones. But then the question becomes, which blood ketone meter is the most accurate? So I get this question a lot. Some people like the Precision Extra. That was the original one that I used during my N=1 nutritional ketosis testing. That's the one from Abbott. It's a pretty good meter. Keto Mojo got a lot of popularity. A lot of people started buying that one. I'm not a fan of Keto Mojo. There's highly suspicious to me kind of abnormalities in the reading, so I'm not a fan of Keto Mojo. I will tell you the one that's kind of the upstart one the past year or so, and it's this Keto Coach X meter. If you haven't seen this one, it's probably the lowest priced meter that I've seen on the market, and its accuracy is way better than the overpriced Keto Mojo and Precision Extra. So if I had to choose one to use, I would use the Keto Coach X. I've got one of those, Norma, so I could possibly test, but I like what I'm seeing from the Biosense so far, and definitely during the fasting period, I'm going to be testing with the Biosense. So Tracy says, I've been off keto for a while now, personal reasons, but I've been struggling. I recently tested positive. No idea how I got it. Oh, for COVID-19. Don't know how I got it because I self-quarantined March 10th, did not go out. I'm feeling much better, waiting for the test to come back, hoping it's negative. Since then, I've had tests done. Now I have pre-diabetes. I've taken a lot of prednisone over the last year, and I believe that's why. So back with keto this week, but honestly, it's so darn hard getting back on track. It makes you want to give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. And I hope you're all healthy now and have overcome the COVID-19, but this is not the time to give up. This is the time to double down and be thankful that you did not get, worse symptoms from COVID-19 than you did. And I would say get back to the basics. When all else fails, get back to the basics. So if you have some books about keto, I wrote one that a lot of people like called Keto Clarity. Reread it. Just read the basics. And some people are like, well, I've been doing keto. I know about keto. Okay, you might know, but it's always good to do a refresher course just to make sure, okay, I missed this, and this step. I forgot about that in the early part of this, blah, blah, blah. So be kind to yourself when you ease back into this. I know the cravings are hard when you've been off of it and you're trying to get back on. Just go through all the everything and remind yourself that you've done this before. Remind yourself that you've overcome all of that addiction before. Remind yourself you went through this pain and got to the part of gloriousness. And don't get bogged down in your own head. Clear your head, eat lots of fat, eat lots of protein, make sure you're eating enough food. This is another thing people do is, well, I'm trying to lose weight, so I don't need to eat too much. No, eat to satiety and your body will respond accordingly. But I wish you well, Tracy. Jacqueline said, have you ever heard of vegetarian carnivores? Is that an oxymoron? Vegetarian carnivore? Tell me more about that, Jacqueline. I have literally never, ever heard of a vegetarian carnivore. Maria says, I've been in a 1-year stall. Well, if you've been 1 year, and I'm assuming you mean stall and not losing weight, again, test all those markers to see, are you losing inches? Are you gaining muscle? What's happened in your blood work in that 1 year? Look at all the changes. Don't just look at weight. That's why I hate the whole vernacular in our culture. Well, I've been stalled out for a year, so nothing good is happening to me with my diet. And that's crap. Something good might be happening and you're just not seeing it because all you're looking at is the weight. So look at the totality. Rita says, do you stay away from sweets altogether? Well, it depends on how you define sweets. If you're talking about sugar, absolutely, stay away from it. But sometimes I do like to have sweet keto treats, and so there's a bunch of them out there. There's some crap ones. Avoid the Atkins bars, gross. Ugh. The Quest bars are not so keto, so again, use it sparingly, I guess, if you're going to use it. I do like the Rebel ice cream, so it gives you that sweetness that you desire, but it's very high in fat and it's got the artificial sweeteners. The main thing is your tolerance to the sweeteners. A lot of people get gut disturbance, and so you just kind of have to take that into account when you are doing this. But no, I'm not anti-sweet. I think people can have sweet things. You just don't need sugar to get that sweetness anymore. I live in Massachusetts. It's scary here, says Tracy. What, yikes. Yeah. Rita says, what are your recommendations for building up your immune system? Great question. I literally just did a podcast about this that's coming out on Wednesday next week. So you guys know Allie Miller. She's a functional medicine practitioner and a registered dietitian. She specializes in improving people's immune system. I just had her on for a recording just a couple of hours ago. I interviewed her. Wonderful, wonderful conversation. And I asked that very question. So listen in, Live in La Vida Low Carb Show on Wednesday next week, llvlc.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. She will talk all about what the immune system is, how it attacks viruses like COVID-19 if it gets in your body, and then what you can do to build up the system. Again, it's too voluminous to do here on a Q&A session, but you're definitely going to love what she has to say. Jacqueline said, I tried to send you a link to the vegetarian carnivore thing, and it said that goes against our community standards. There's a lot of strange things going on social media. Over here on Instagram, I don't even necessarily write about COVID-19. I think I reference it or referenced virus or coronavirus, and they start slapping on the image at the bottom of the image. Might contain misinformation about COVID-19. Please visit cdc.gov for accurate information. I'm going, all right, I didn't even talk about the virus, but I think they're so anal retentive about stuff. And I'm going to say this, Jacqueline, the reason they probably did the against our community standard thing, I think there is an underground movement to come after people that talk positively about meat. I think they are using this crisis as a way to silence the voices of people that they don't want to hear anymore. And you're like, okay, that sounds preposterous. Want to bet? They were doing this last year about this time. About this time last year, Google changed their algorithm so that a lot of us in the alternative health space were no longer showing up high in the search engines anymore. I did a whole Jimmy Rants all about that subject if you want to go back and look it up on YouTube. But I feel like they are using this while nobody's kind of paying attention. They feel like they can do these policies all under the guise of protecting people and the information, and we don't want to have misinformation out there, which I've always said, okay, who gets to determine what's misinformation and what's true? Who gets to decide that? Apparently right now, it's YouTube, it's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's all these entities. They get to be the gatekeepers of what they think you should see and what you should not see. So that's crazy. I would still love to know what a vegetarian carnivore is. So if you want to just type it in there, don't send a link, just type it in and let me know what it is. I'd be delighted to know what that's about. So thank you, Facebook. Let's pop over here to my YouTube channel. All right, any updates on any books you're working on, says Steven. I'm not working on any actively right now. I will tell you this. I do want to write about childhood trauma at some point because the sabbatical definitely opened my eyes to a whole nother aspect of health that I'd really never considered before, that your history and the things you've gone through in your life that might have been traumatic, they're still having a physical effect on your body. And so I feel like there needs to be somebody that can write clearly and bring clarity, so to speak, that's kind of my trademark, to that subject of trauma and relate it to health. And so that is something I want to write. I've been talking with a lady about possibly co-authoring that someday, but it's not in the works. I definitely don't have any kind of book planned. I don't even have an outline or anything, but it's just a concept. And I'm constantly thinking of ideas for books, and so I'm not done writing books. I am considering, though, starting to self-publish again. And I'll tell you a little inside baseball. The publishing industry has gotten so ugly towards authors. Now, it's never been great towards authors, although my publisher has been pretty darn good to me over the years. They signed me in 2012, and I've had 7 great books with them. 3 of them became international bestsellers. But I'm starting to get a little bit jaded by the industry itself, realizing that I have enough name recognition as an author. I probably don't need them anymore, and I probably could just self-publish. I've got enough contacts within the realm of like book design and editing and all that. I don't need that extra layer of bureaucracy, so to speak. And quite frankly, they get the vast majority of my book sales, and I get pennies on the dollar, whereas they get most of the money from my book sales. So honestly, I'm thinking of doing it on my own moving forward. So haven't really shared that anywhere, so thank you for the question. It was a great one, but no books specifically right now, but stay tuned. Kim says, I'm glad you're taking some time off. You deserve it. Thank you. I'm trying to take care of me and not get to that part where I have to go away for 6 months again. Steven says, have you had your basal metabolic rate checked over the years? Mine dropped 660 calories per day doing keto for 2 years. All worth it to reverse diabetes and to lose 115 pounds. Just curious. I have not. I have heard about having that checked. Let me correct that. I have. It's just been a while. The last time I had my basal metabolic rate checked, and by the way, for those of you that don't know what that is, so it's the amount of energy that you can consume, calories consume in a day to maintain your weight. So if your basal metabolic rate is, say, 2,000 calories and you back off to 1,800 calories, ostensibly you should lose weight. So for me, I want to say the last time I had it run, it was 2,300 calories. But that was about 6 or so years ago. So yeah, I'm due to do that again. It would definitely be interesting now that I've implemented more of kind of keto carnivore into the routine. So thank you for that. Appreciate that, Stephen. Shirley says, I'll be headed to First Landing State Park mid-June. I'm glad to hear beaches are going to be open. Awesome. I'm guessing vegetarian carnivore would be eggs and dairy only. That's vegetarian? That seems weird. But if it's eggs and dairy, and I think Jacqueline said the article proposes carnivores are more vegan than people who don't eat meat. Very interesting. I wish Facebook would allow the link. Yeah, I have never heard of vegetarian carnivore. It literally sounds like an oxymoron. Like, how are you vegetarian carnivore? Because they sound like the antithesis. That's like, it's very wet dry. So if something's wet dry, is it wet or is it dry? I don't know. Vegetarian carnivore. All right, let's come back over here to my Instagrammers. You guys, bring me some questions. What you got? Sadsy says, I've been on keto for 2 months, but I broke my keto while in quarantine. I have now broke out in a horrible rash on my arms. Should I go on a water fast? Help. Well, we are doing a fast starting on Monday. So if you want to join the fast, Monday here on Jimmy Rants, I will be leading a 7-day water and salt fast. So definitely come on Monday. But what you are dealing with is what some people refer to affectionately as the keto rash. It's not anything to do with ketosis per se. What it is, I've addressed this before on Keto Talk and various places, but it's basically where the body is trying to respond to the shift in metabolism that's happening. It doesn't happen to everybody that goes keto. There was some people that made a big deal about, oh my gosh, all the leaders in keto are ignoring the keto rash. Well, it's kind of like keto crotch. It was not a real thing. So people like to describe things as keto blank, like the keto flu. It's not actually the flu. It's just electrolyte imbalance. And so when you balance your electrolytes, you don't get all those negative effects. So sorry you're having the rash. Definitely it does not last forever. Just, realize that it means your body is making changes for the good overall. Do you get any bears or bobcats by your house, says David. I live in South Carolina. We don't have bears or bobcats anywhere close to here, so I don't know how I would get that. The mountains are about an hour and a half away. I guess I know they have bears there. Literally have never seen a bobcat in person, and I don't want to in my life, so no. Have you convinced any of your family members to go keto or lower carb? Yeah, Marley, my mom, who has an autoimmune condition called myasthenia gravis, and she's on heavy steroid treatment for that. She wanted to go keto to try to help with, obviously, weight loss, but the steroids make it hard. But more importantly, she wanted to be out of pain. So between that and CBD oil, she's able to get pain under control and feel better. She would lose a little weight, but then she'd gain it back. And so I said, Mom, stop worrying about your weight. Focus on how you feel. Focus on the pain getting eliminated. And so both of those things, again, along with CBD oil, have helped. My sister Beverly also does keto, and they've both been kind of off and on with it. They'll do it for a while, and then life happens, just like all the rest of us. So, and then my cousin Robert in Tennessee went keto. He was dealing with extremely high triglycerides. He's a Jimmy Rants fan too, by the way. So he went keto and dropped those. He's type 2 diabetic. He was having some health issues, and so keto has definitely helped him. I think that's all the family members that have done keto that I know of. Obviously, if they're doing keto, I would hope that they would let Mr. Keto know. So David wants to know how my foot is. So I announced it the other day that I went to the emergency clinic on Sunday morning because my right foot has been swollen. The ankle has been swollen for the past couple weeks. And so I went in and I suspected it might have been a spider bite or something that caused the swelling, and it just was not going down. It's painful as well. And in fact, I'm in pain right this moment. I hide it pretty well. So, and I thought, okay, maybe a spider bite when I mowed the grass, maybe I fractured it somehow. So they ran an X-ray negative. They ran a white blood cell count, and it was perfectly normal. And so the doctor comes in and he says, all right, do you have a family history of gout or arthritis? And I said, well, no, not that I know of. He said, I think you have gout in your ankle. And I was like, gout, isn't that usually in the big toe or the elbow? And he said, well, it can also manifest in the ankle. So he said, well, we could give you a steroid shot today, which they stuck right in my butt. And it did help somewhat with it. They prescribed me a medication that I refused to take. I obviously have lots of doctor friends, so I texted a whole bunch of them the day that I was in the office, and they were like, just if you take that med, it does help, but you will crap your pants out. It's got diarrhea effects. So I have yet to fill that prescription. I'm going to try cherry tart bitter. Dr. Cole, my co-host on Real Talk, suggested that one, so I'm going to go buy some and start taking some of that. It's supposed to help. I'm also rubbing CBD oil right on the top of it, but yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's still swollen, still a little bit red, and it's still very painful right now. So that is the update on the foot. Sadzi says fasting cardio increases cortisol. Would this be counterproductive for fat loss? Well, fasting cardio can increase cortisol in the temporary, but I think it's the long game that you're looking at. And so if you're trying to lose fat, yeah, you raise your cortisol a little bit when you're exercising and in a fasted state, but it's what happens in the hours after that exercise that gives you lower inflammation, lower cortisol, lower blood sugar, lower insulin, thus creating a recipe for good fat loss. So no, I don't agree with that. Marley says, are you a coffee drinker? No. Longtime Jimmy Moore fans know I think coffee is gross. I'm a hyper taster. And so it means everything in something, I taste it to the nth degree. So there's bitter notes in coffee that I just don't do well. It's another reason I can't do real high levels of dark chocolate, because it's too bitter. I can taste bitterness in broccoli. There's all kinds of things that I smell more intensely, I taste more intensely. So it's kind of a blessing and a curse. And the curse is I can't have a lot of things that a lot of people seem to like. Masks limit oxygen consumption, and by breathing in your own CO2 has been shown to increase the pH level of your blood. What are your thoughts? I'm not a medical anything. I do know what you're saying there. And again, I address this very thing with Allie Miller on the Living La Vida Low Carb Show episode we recorded today. So go listen on Wednesday. She talked about when you breathe in stuff through your mask and it goes into your lungs, that having that mask on pushes that virus down into your lungs even deeper than if you weren't wearing a mask, where you could expel it out of your body. So I would not be surprised if it does increase your blood pH levels. What's your favorite way to exercise? So I have a tractor tire out in my front yard over there, and I love flipping that bad boy. And the fun thing about flipping a tire is you don't have to do a whole long session. Literally, you can do about 10 to 15 minutes and get in quite the workout doing it kind of HIIT style. So doing like 8 to 10 reps of flipping, rest a little bit, catch your breath, 8 to 10 flips, rest a little bit, catch your breath, 8 to 10, and do that about maybe 6 to 12 times, depending on how you're feeling. And it's quite the workout, and I actually enjoy it quite a bit. Did you see that The Guardian accepted a $866,000 grant from the backers of Impossible Foods to write a series of articles against animal agriculture? It's funny you say that, because I literally had that as one of the stories that I skipped today. But yes, I did read that. For those of you that have not heard, The Guardian is a UK-based newspaper, and a lot of these newspapers are struggling right now for revenue because there's a lot of subscribers that stopped getting their papers. So they accepted money from Impossible Foods to promote how animal agriculture is horrible. This stuff happens behind the scenes, you guys, and we just happened to find this one out. And to Guardian's defense, they made no bones about that they got support from Impossible Foods, and so they weren't trying to hide it. But how many of these kinds of transactions are happening where they are hiding it, and you have no idea that news that you're reading about is actually bought and paid for by some kind of a food company? Can you recommend a good book about fasting, says R.W. Hempel. Really? You know I wrote one, right? Is it gratuitous to tell your own book name? So The Complete Guide to Fasting is the book that I wrote with Dr. Jason Fung. So we happen to think that's a pretty good book. In fact, it's the best-selling book of all time about fasting. Go get it on Amazon. I read the audiobook if you like audiobooks, but it's also in paper and Kindle. There's also one called Eat, Fast, Eat. That's pretty good, by Brad Pilon. I mean, there's so many. There's a new one from Dr. Fung and Megan Ramos, Life in the Fasting Lane, if you want to look at that one. But that's more of a story about fasting and how this one lady was able to overcome some health issues. But if a basic book on fasting, it's The Complete Guide to Fasting. That's why we wrote that book. What are your thoughts about sweet potatoes with grass-fed butter? If you can tolerate the carbs, go for it. What are your plans for the restful weekend? Marley, as little as possible. So yeah. I'm just going to chill. I mean, I don't want to have any kind of plans whatsoever. I think that's the beauty. That was the fun part of being on sabbatical. I woke up in the morning with no agenda. Do you know how beautiful and wonderful it is to have no agenda at all? I know it's a luxury, I get it. And so I'm going to enjoy the 3 days of nothingness. I hate the bitterness of coffee, but I take iodine drops daily for my thyroid. I can use coffee cream to cover the taste of the iodine. Well, I guess that's one way to do it. Oh, R.W. Hempel, you did not know I wrote a fasting book. See, this is the funny thing. Like, I assume people know that if you watch Jimmy Rants, you kind of know my book. So my apologies for making that assumption, especially you're a longtime fan. So let me go through my books with Victor Bell. So in 2013, I wrote Cholesterol Clarity. 2014, I wrote Keto Clarity. 2015 was the Ketogenic Cookbook with Maria Emmerich. The Clarity books, by the way, were with Dr. Eric Westman. 2016, I wrote The Complete Guide to Fasting with Dr. Jason Fung. 2017, I didn't have any books. But then 2018, I did The Keto Cure. And 2019, I did Keto Clarity Cookbook. The end of 2018, I did Real Food Keto. And then 2019 did Keto Clarity Cookbook with Heather Rushin. And then I've basically not written any books this year because I was gone and I just got back. So that's my books. Guys, I'm running out of time. Carb cycling, is it beneficial? If it works for you, sure. Since you won't be here on the weekend, to those who haven't fasted, what's a good time to start the fast? Start whenever you want to start. There's no magical time to start fasting. So, have you seen this article? Well, I can't click on an article while I'm doing a Jimmy Rant. So, let me see if there's one over here on Facebook YouTube before we sign off. There's a guy on Twitter whose name is Carnivore is Vegan. Yeah, I've seen that guy on Twitter, and I like what he does there. So, Sergio, possible spider bite. Funny you said that. My 5-year-old woke up with a swollen ankle, added tea tree oil, and it helped, but definitely not a mosquito bite. Yes. How do you join the fasting group on Monday? Come right here on Jimmy Rants. That's it for this Ask Me Anything of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. Go follow me on Instagram at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Watch the replay on IGTV. We also have it over on YouTube. Type in the keyword Jimmy Rants, you'll find the show. Finally, JimmyRants.com is the website. And guys, have a great weekend. Can't wait to come back on Monday for that 7-day fasting. So until then, we'll see you then.